What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 1, Monday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to give you my top DFS picks for this Monday Night Football showdown between the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, let's take a look at this Monday Night Football showdown between the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's take a look at the quarterback position. So I like both quarterbacks on this slate. Lamar Jackson, he's super expensive, but he has the most upside out of all the players on the slate. So Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens, he's playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So he's got a great matchup, and he averaged 23.5 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 10.6 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 23.9 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $12,400 DraftKings salary. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 50.5 points scored in this game. That's their over-under, and they have the Ravens favored by 5. So getting over 10 rush attempts per game, you're going to get the ground yards and the air yards. Lamar Jackson can rack up a ton of fantasy points, but he's going to eat a lot of your salary. So I'm going to have a lineup with him, a lineup without him. So I like Lamar Jackson here versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, if you want to save some salary at the quarterback position, take a look at Derek Carr from the Las Vegas Raiders. And Derek Carr, he averaged 19.2 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 2.4 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 17.3 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $9,800 DraftKings salary. So because Vegas thinks that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be trailing by 5, this could be a passing game script for Derek Carr. So I think he's in a pretty good spot as a fantasy quarterback here tonight. So I like Derek Carr here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So for the Las Vegas Raiders, you got Josh Jacobs, who averaged 16 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 18.2 rush attempts per game and 3 pass targets per game. He's projected at 12.4 fantasy points here tonight, although I think he's going to score 15 fantasy points or more. He's $8,400 DraftKings salary. Now, I'm just a little bit worried that the Raiders will fall behind in this game, and they'll have to pass the ball, and Josh Jacobs doesn't catch that many balls out of the backfield, only 3 pass targets per game on average. So that could take him out of the game plan in the 4th quarter if they fall way behind. But he is the running back stud on this slate, so I like Josh Jacobs here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you want to save some salary at the running back position, the Baltimore Ravens are dealing with a ton of injuries at the running back spot. So the 2 guys that could carry the ball here tonight are Tyson Williams and Latavius Murray. And from what I've been reading, they say Tyson Williams is going to get the bulk of the workload. But what's interesting is that the Baltimore Ravens have called up Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell. And right now, those guys are on their practice squad. So they could be called up for this game here tonight. Keep your eye on that. But even if they are, I don't think I'm going to play those guys because they said they'd have a very limited workload. They said Le'Veon Bell is still getting his legs under him, and they're not quite familiar with the system yet. So for tonight's game, I like Tyson Williams from the Baltimore Ravens. And the Las Vegas Raiders, they gave up the 6th most fantasy points overall, and they gave up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So Tyson Williams has a great matchup here tonight, He's 6,800 DraftKings salary. He should be the lead back in this one. And with the Baltimore Ravens favored by 5, it could be a running game script. So I like Tyson Williams here versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. I like Marquise Brown from the Baltimore Ravens playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Marquise Brown, he averaged 11.6 fantasy points per game on the season last year, averaging 6.3 pass targets per game, and he closed out the season really well, scoring 13, 23, and 21 fantasy points off of 7, 9, and 8 pass targets. He's projected at 12.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,600 DraftKings salary. He's got a great matchup, so I like Marquise Brown here versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, now for the Raiders, because I think they are going to fall behind in this game, I think my strategy here is going to be to stack a couple of the cheap wide receiver ones from the Raiders. And the number 1 wide receiver that I want to play from the Las Vegas Raiders is Henry Ruggs. He's only 5,000 DraftKings salary. Last year he averaged 6.9 fantasy points per game, and he got an average of 3.3 pass targets per game. Now this guy's a speedster. He's super fast. He can catch the long ball. So if the Raiders are playing from behind, you can expect a lot of deep passes to Henry Ruggs. So I like Henry Ruggs here versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the other guy you got to consider, just because his salary is so low, and he actually got more pass targets per game than Henry Ruggs did. Now, he's not as explosive, but take a look at Hunter Renfrow from the Las Vegas Raiders. He averaged 8.3 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 4.8 pass targets per game. And he's projected at 8.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's only 2,800 DraftKings salary. So I think Hunter Renfrow is a good value play here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. You got 2 tight end studs, 1 on each team. For the Las Vegas Raiders, you got Darren Waller, who averaged 18.5 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 9.1 pass targets per game. He's projected at 16.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,800 DraftKings salary. And with the Raiders possibly falling behind in this game, I'm going to make room for Darren Waller in my lineup. So I like Darren Waller here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, now this guy has a better matchup. Take a look at Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who had the 6th worst defense overall, and they were middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Mark Andrews averaged 12.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.3 pass targets per game. He's projected at 13.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,000 DraftKings salary. Now, the big number that sticks out between Darren Waller and Mark Andrews is that Darren Waller was on the field for 92% of the snaps last year, and Mark Andrews was only on the field for 58% of the snaps. So you're getting a lot more usage with Darren Waller for only 1,800 more. I think I prefer Darren Waller, especially because of the game script, but Mark Andrews still has a lot of upside, so I like both Darren Waller and Mark Andrews here versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.